morning, friends. Today, our second session of our free Python course. Let's get started. The topic today that we are going to teach you is identifiers. The concept is very important, and I request your attention. I'll share another term for this concept identifiers that we are learning, and that is variables. So we can say that we are learning about identifiers today and or variables. Let me define identifiers and I shall explain it to you. In a Python program, whatever names are defined by the programmer are called identifiers. Hence, in a program, in a Python program, a programmer himself defines various components. There are various things. As the course progresses, we are going to learn about them, created by the programmer, and the programmer assigns names to these entities, or I can call them as objects. These names given by the programmer to such objects, such elements, are called as identifiers. Let me give you another definition of identifier. Identifiers are names given by the programmer to classes, objects, functions, modules, packages, variables, list, tuple, dictionary, etc. Now, in this definition, you have come across various new terms like classes, objects, functions, modules, packages, variables are what we're going to learn today, list, tuple, dictionary, etc. Some other things also. These are various things various components that a programmer will create himself in a program. And to identify them in a program, the programmer has to give some names to them. The programmer has to give names to them for identification purpose, and so they are also called as identifiers. These names are called as identifiers. I do understand this is our second session, but friends, do not worry at the moment about anything other than variables. And as I said, variables is what we're going to learn today. You know, to make this definition meaningful at this stage, I would say identifiers are names given by the programmer to variables. So in one sense, I could have just named variables that we are going to learn today, and names given to variables are also called as identifiers. Let us now understand what is a variable. Variable is a name given to the location within the computer's memory where data or value is stored. When we store values, or we can call values as data, when we store them in the computer's memory, the memory that I'm referring to is the computer's temporary memory, also called as the random access memory, RAM. When we store values in the computer's memory, the location where we store the value, we assign a name to that location, and this is called as variable. Let me make you understand this with the help of a diagram. Assume, for example, this box that I've made is one location within the computer's memory. Actually, within the computer's memory, that is RAM, that is a temporary memory. Now, when I say temporary memory, I mean to say that the value remains in the memory as long as the computer is on. The moment the computer is turned off, or the moment our program ends, that value that is kept in that memory, RAM, is lost. I repeat, it is temporary. So, within the computer's memory, imagine that there are thousands and lakhs of such boxes. These boxes, this one particular box which I made over here, represents a location within the computer's memory. It's also called as a cell. We can call it as a memory location. I repeat, we can call it as a cell or a memory location. Now, in a Python program, if we write a statement, say we write a statement age equal to 25, what are we telling Python to do when we write some statement like this, age equal to 25? We are telling Python to store the value 25 in the computer's memory. I repeat, I'm telling the computer to store the value 25 in a cell in the computer's memory, in a memory location, store the value 25, and give name to that location, give a name to that location in the computer's memory as age. So that location, that cell where we have kept the value 25, we are naming it as age. So that's what we are exactly telling the computer. I'm telling the computer to go and store the value 25 in the memory and name that cell or the location, computer location, memory location as age. Actually, let me tell you that location or the cell in the memory has numbers, what we call as cell addresses. The cell address refers to a number by which that cell is identified within the computer's memory. These cell addresses, these numbers, which each and every cell in the memory has, are very huge numbers. They're very long and very frankly difficult to remember. So instead of me remembering as me, say for example, I am storing the value 25 in the computer's memory, and me, I am myself, instead of taking the trouble of remembering this cell address 8976543415, okay, this is just randomly given by me, assuming that this cell I've occupied is having the following cell address. So instead of taking the trouble of remembering this cell address, I tell the computer to that I myself, instead of remembering the cell address, I would prefer to give a name to that cell, and that is what is called as a variable. So I prefer to assign a name to that cell, and I would like the computer to communicate with the computer to keep the value in that cell or to get the value from that cell with the help of this name, which is also called as variable. So in short, I do not want to take the trouble of remembering such huge numbers or cell addresses, and instead, imagine not, we would not be using in a particular program just one cell. We would be using quite a dozen of cells, and instead of taking the trouble of remembering such long cell addresses, we are giving suitable names, simple names to those cell addresses for our convenience. These names are called as variables or also called as identifiers. Now coming to the term identifier, the term identifier means to identify something. So what we have done is, this cell in the computer's memory, we have given a name to that cell, and that's why it is also called as identifier. Now what is the advantage of giving, storing the value in the memory and giving a name to it for identification? The advantage is, later when I want the computer to get the value of age from the memory for me, I can simply tell the computer to print age. As you see currently in this command print age, I'm telling the computer to go to the memory, to the cell named as age, get the value from there and show it on the computer screen. So this is the advantage of naming the cells. So coming back to the definition, coming back to our notes, variable is a name given to the location within the computer's memory. So this is that location, also called as cell, where the data or value is stored. This is the value I've stored, and I've given this name to that cell. Age is the name we have given. And the way we do it, the command in Python to keep the value in a variable, or to keep the value in the computer's memory, is this age equal to 25 that we have written. And when you want to get that value and show it on the screen, get the value from the computer's memory and show it on the screen, we write print age. So now even have a look at this statement. Identifiers are names given by the programmer to variables. As I told you today, amongst the names given to classes or objects or functions which will be done by us as the course progresses, we are amongst these, we are only going to learn about variables as of now. You know, these are very advanced topics in their own way, and it would take some time for us to do them or to reach to those levels. So I'm writing an example over here, age equal to 25, the statement. Okay, what are we doing in this statement? What will the statement do? Store the value 25 within the computer's memory within a cell and name that cell as age. So in the statement age equal to 25, what we are doing is we are storing the value 25 within the computer's memory within a particular cell and naming that cell as age. Later, when we write a statement in the program as print age, we are telling the computer to get the value stored within the computer's memory within the cell named age and display it on the screen. Let us try this out on the computer now. I've already started Python. We have the Python screen. Just before I do that, let me allow me to save this image. I'm saving this image in my D drive. I've created a folder for our batch. That is June 20. And within this, I'm saving this image by the name variables. So please have a look over here at my Python. I've already started Python ideally, and I have the prompt. I can type my command at the prompt. I'm typing the command age equal to 25. So as you understand, we are storing the value 25 in a variable named age. And when I write print age, the value will be displayed. Now I would like to remind you that you're not going to write this statement age equal to 25 like this, please. 25 equal to age. Remember, this is invalid. You're not supposed to write it like this. You see this symbol equal to. Let me speak a little bit about the symbol equal to. The symbol equal to is called as the assignment operator. When you use symbols like equal to, plus, minus, multiply symbol, which we'll be learning later on, these symbols in a programming language are called as operators. And this particular symbol, the single equal to symbol, is called as the assignment operator. Now, what is the purpose? Let me share with you what is the purpose of the assignment operator. Its purpose is to define, or I can say name, a variable. That's one task that we would do when we are using the equal to operator. That is to give a name to the variable. We are giving name to our variable as age, and assign or give a value to the variable. So we are giving the value 25 to that variable. So this is the purpose of the equal to or the assignment operator. I'm writing the example over here again. Okay, as I said, its purpose is to define or give a name to the variable. So the name is age, and to give some value to that variable. The value that we are giving is 25. I remind you again, you're not going to do it this way. When you're giving the equal to, you're using the equal to operator, the value that you're giving should be on the right hand side. Whatever value you're giving should be on the right hand side of the equal to sign. This is this right hand side of the equal to sign, and the variable to whom you're giving that value should be on the left hand side of the equal to sign. So I briefly introduce you to the equal to or the assignment operator. Now, one more feature about Python I would like to share with you. Now, this task that we have done in Python, this statement that we wrote in Python, this example that we are referring to, age equal to 25, we write it like this in Python. But if we were to do the same task in a language like C or C++ or Java, we would have written the statement as int age equal to 25 with a semicolon at the end. Now, what is this int in this statement? Or rather, let me speak about semicolon. You know, in languages like C, C++, Java, every statement, every command of yours should end with semicolon. That's a rule in these languages. Now, what is this int? In languages like C, C++, Java, when you're creating a variable and you're storing some value in that variable, you have to also tell the computer what is your intention as to what kind of value you want to store in that variable. I repeat, you have to tell the computer your intention about storing what kind of value in that variable. When we use the word int, I am expressing the intention to store an integer value within that variable. Let me define integers for you. Integer values, okay, are 0 or positive or negative values without the decimal point. I repeat, they are 0, positive or negative values without the decimal point. So I'll share with you some examples, like the value 25, which I assigned to age, is a positive value without a decimal point. Say minus 75 is a negative value without a decimal point. 0. The values could be large also, quite large also. I've written the value 10 lakhs. These are some examples of integer values. So I repeat, when in C, C++ or Java, when you're defining a variable and you're giving some value to the variable, you have to also tell the language the intent, what kind of value you intend to store in that variable, or what kind of variable that you intend to define. Like when I write int, I'm telling the language that I intend to store an integer. I want a variable to store an integer value, and you have to maintain that discipline. In the program, when you define your variable as integer, you cannot write the value as 25.5. If you do that, let me tell you, if you have the curiosity, it will drop the 0.5 and only store 25 within the variable age, because you have defined it as int. Yes, when you define the variable as int, you will be allowed to store only integer values. Now, if you are curious to know that if we want to store this value, then what do we do? Then in that case, the variable should be defined as float. So, as I said, if you intend to keep a value with decimal point, then that variable should be declared as floating point variable. We'll discuss about floating point variables later on. Our intention is to first use integer type of variables to work with integer variables. So I change this back to int and I write age equal to 25. So I was saying that in languages like C, C++, or Java, while creating a variable, we have to also specify the type of variable we want to create. That's necessary. And this feature, doing this is called, this feature of these languages is called as statically typed languages or statically typed language. So we would call we would consider C or C++ or Java as statically typed languages, because when you're creating variables, it is necessary for you to specify the type of the variable you want to create. That's what we mean by statically typed. You have to specify the type specifically, and so statically typed language, whereas you don't have to do that in Python, and so Python is called as dynamically typed language. We do not need to specify the type of the variable. And why is it that we don't have to specify the type? In this statement, if you see the value that I've given 25 carefully, it is a value without a decimal point. So in Python will understand this variable, this value is integer. So from the value itself, it will understand that the variable should be integer. I repeat, from the value itself, Python will understand the variable should be of what type. So the value is integer without a decimal point, and so it will make the variable age as integer. This feature of Python is called as dynamically typed language. That is, we don't have to specify the type. Coming back to Python, as you see the example that we had given earlier, in this example, I'll share one more function with you. Let me brief you about what is function. If you look at this print command which I've given, I've written print and then I've opened round brackets, and within the round brackets I've written the name of my variable age. Whenever in Python you see a name, and after the name you see a pair of round brackets. Remember, they should be only round brackets. It's called a function. Functions are ready-made programs given to us by Python company, by the company which has introduced this software, introduced this language. The programmers of these companies themselves have written small programs to do specific tasks, and the manner in which you're going to recognize them is by seeing a name, and after the name, when you see a pair of round brackets, you understand that it's a function. So when we're using print, we are using a print function to give us the output. Next function I'm sharing with you, a new function today, is a type function. The purpose of this type function is to tell me the type of my variable. This variable age that we have created is of what type. When I press enter, you see int over here. The complete output is class int. I would request you that initially to ignore the word class. The class, or I should say classes, is a concept that will be, that is covered by us in the second module of our Python course. And when I'm referring to module, our course of Python is of two modules. First module is core Python, and the second module is advanced Python. It is actually in the second module, each module is of 3 months. In the second module, beginning of the second module, you start understanding classes, actually, classes and objects. At the moment, you just focus on int. I introduce you to what is int. It refers to integer values. So what I get to understand from Python now, by giving type age, is this variable age is of integer type. So it tells me the type. The purpose of this function, please understand, this type is also a function. And how do I know it's a function? Again, there is a pair of round brackets after it. That's how I understand this function. So when I say type and the name of the variable, Python tells me that variable is of what type, or what type of value is stored in that variable. So I get the output integer. Last session, in our first session of Python, if you recollect, I would give a print command like this. Say I'm giving a print, example of print, I print minus 35, I'm giving a negative value. So in the print function, I've written in brackets minus 35, a negative value, get the output minus 35. We had also done something like this, type, and I give the value minus 35. I want to know what is the type of this. I want to understand from Python what it understands, what it recognizes the type of this value as. It tells me int. Now, the reason of revising this examples, what we did in our first session, is I want you to compare the example of print, which I've given over here, print and age in round brackets. Age is the name of our variable. And now that I gave print and minus 35 in brackets, I want you to understand what is the difference, recognize the difference between the example print age and print minus 35. And similarly, if you see type, and in bracket I've written age, and type, in bracket I've written minus 35. I'll share that with you. Last session, the first session of Python, when we would write the print function, we would write print, and within the round brackets, we would write some value. So in our first session of Python, the print function, we used it in such a way that to print function, we would in bracket write a value And so the print function would print the value for us. That value would be printed, as I did in this case, print minus 35, and so minus 35 has been printed on the next line. And today, what the example that we did of our print is something like this: print, and within bracket I write age. That is, within bracket I'm writing the name of a variable. Print, and within bracket the name of the variable age. And so what print Python does is it shows me the value that is kept in that variable age. Please see carefully, when I wrote print age, Python on the next line displayed the value that was kept by us in that variable age, that is 25. So the difference between the print example of print that we have given today is where within print I've written the name of a variable and the value of that variable is printed. Whereas the first session of Python, we had written print function like this, print and the value, so that value was printed. Similarly, for the type function, in the first session, the examples that we demonstrated were type and in bracket value, so that I get to know the type, the data type of that value. So I would get answer integer for minus 35. And today, when I use type function, I've written type and in bracket a variable. So the type function tells me the type of that variable. So when I write type and age, it tells me that this variable age is storing what type of data. It tells me integer, using the output integer. Yes, for type minus 35, I'm going to get the answer integer. For type age also, I'm going to get the answer integer, because the value that we have stored in age is 25, which is integer. So the output is same. But the difference in the way I've given the example, please see the difference. First session of Python, we gave within the function name, within the bracket, we gave a value. And today what we are giving within the function name brackets, the round brackets, we are giving the name of a variable. Now I'm giving an example in my Python software, print, and carefully see this example and give me the answer. I'm writing print within round brackets in double quotes, I'm writing age. In our first session of Python, we had demonstrated some examples like this by putting in within the print function, within the bracket, putting something in double quotes, which we called as strings. We have introduced them to you in our first session. So keeping that in mind, I would like to think and carefully give me the answer as to what would be printed when we give this command. Please see the output now. Please notice when I give this command with age in double quotes, the print function printed the word age as it is, and it did not print the value 25 this time. Please compare the example over here, the print example over here, print age, and the example of print that I'm giving over here with age in double quotes. Try to understand the difference. Try to remember this. This age word which I've written is simply a word. It is simply text. It is put in double quotes, so print function prints it as it is on the next line, the name age. This what I put in double quotes is not the name of a variable. It is not understood by Python as a variable name, because if it was to be understood as a variable name by Python, it should not have been put in double quotes. So that's when, without double quotes, if you put, it will understand it as a variable and give you the value of that variable. Whereas in this case, Python is not understanding age as a variable, it is understanding this as string text. And you see the value is being, the text age or the name age is being printed. So when you want to print the value of a variable, take care that you're not writing the name of the variable in double quotes. So I'll just share a note of this with you over here in my text file, in my note file. Print in double quotes, if I write age, it will not print the value of variable age, that is 25. It will not print 25. Okay. Instead, it will print the text, or we can say string age. It will simply print the text or the name or the word age. We can also call it a string. It will not print the value of the variable age. It will be not understood as a variable. It will be understood as string. So take care of this. See that you're not making, you're understanding and what you're doing properly. That means if you want to print the value of a variable named age, you should be writing the name age without double quotes. Yes, within the round brackets. And if you want to simply show the name, okay, not understanding, treating that as a variable, then you can put it in double quotes. I'm simply coming up to one particular, this statement. I'll just organize this. This example that we have written, 25 equal to 8, which I shared with you, is invalid. Okay, you're not going to write it this way. I'm just shifting it down over here. And equal to is called as assignment operator. And I would like to share with you the proper manner in which you should write the equal to statement. You will be writing variable, that is the name of the variable that you are creating, to which the value is to be given. Then you write the equal to. That means you're going to write the name of the variable before the equal to sign on the left hand side, and you write the value that you want to give to the variable on the right hand side. So this is how you're going to write this particular statement. This is the proper manner, and we have given you the example also. As you see, age variable is to the left of the equal to, and the value is on the right of the equal to. Well, let us now refer to our notes. We'll be sharing these notes with you. Python is a general purpose, high level programming language. General purpose means it is a language which can be, in which we can make programs for various applications. These could be commercial applications, these could be engineering or scientific applications also. Earlier, there were languages which were specific for commercial purposes, and there were some other languages specially used for engineering or scientific applications. But that is not so in case of Python. It can be used for multiple purposes, for be used by various industries. Python was developed by Guido van Rossum in 1989 while working at National Research Institute at Netherlands. But officially, it was made available to public in 1991. So though it was introduced in 1989, but officially to the public, the software was made available in 1991. The official date of release of Python is February 20th, 1991. Python is recommended as the first programming language for beginners. Yes, I too am advocating that, though quite a few years, for past many years, people have been starting, their programming career with C, moving forward to C++ and then Java. But today, I would recommend, and many would recommend, to start learning programming with the Python as the first programming language. It is quite a simple language, and besides being simple, it's not restricted to, its features are not restricted to basic features. We can go very far, and it has lots of advanced features available also. Here is an example to print the text "Hello World," which we have demonstrated in the last session also. Print, and in bracket within the print function, I will write the text "Hello World" in double quotes. So we'll get the output "Hello World." We have another example over here, but we'll be doing this example in the next session. Okay, there's more about variables that we have to discuss. We are using variables over here, as you see. The name Python was selected from the TV show The Complete Monty Python's Circus. Well, this was a very popular television show which used to be broadcast on the BBC from 1969 to 1974. And Mr. Guido van Rossum was very fond of this show, and from this show he got the inspiration of giving the name to this language as Python. Guido developed Python language by taking almost all good features from other programming languages. Yes, Python has features from functional programming features from C language, object-oriented programming features from C++, scripting language features from Perl and Shell, modular programming features from Modular 3, where yes, these are features of these respective languages, and these good features of these languages are all incorporated in Python. And that's why Python is becoming very, very popular. Where can we use Python? In which areas? We can use Python everywhere. The most common application areas are for developing desktop applications. That means programs which would work on your desktop or your laptop computer. For developing web applications, that means programs that would be kept on a web server and you're going to call them through a browser. With the help of a browser, you're going to get it from the web server onto your machine and run it on your machine. Those are web applications. Desktop applications are programs which are solely on your computer. You don't need a browser or an internet connection, or you don't need to get it from a web server. Web applications are applications which are on a web server. With the help of a browser, you go to the server, get that application onto your machine and make it run on a machine. Database applications, where you'll be writing programs in Python which will go and store data in a database server or fetch data from a database server. Besides that, network programming for developing games, for data analysis applications, for machine learning, for developing artificial intelligence applications, and for making applications relating to Internet of Things, IoT based applications. When I say for data analysis, I'm also referring to data science. Now let me tell you, all these applications are very, very popular nowadays. In fact, let me tell you, database applications, data analysis, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things is a very, very lucrative area, and programs for all these areas can be developed with the help of Python. Now, friends, when we are telling you the various areas for which programs can be made in Python, let me tell you, for for all these various purposes, like for example, database applications, there are ready-made packages available in Python, even for network programming, for developing games. For all these purposes, advanced purposes, there are ready-made packages, that is collection of classes given to us by Python. But in order to call those packages, call the classes within those packages, make use of the functions within those packages, in order to be able to do that efficiently, you need to learn the basics of Python, and that is what we are teaching you in this free course of ours. Note, internally Google, YouTube use Python coding. That means they themselves are using a lot of coding done in programs made in Python. The NASA and the New York Stock Exchange also has applications developed in Python. Top software companies like Google, Microsoft, IBM, Yahoo are also using Python. I'm now sharing with you flavors of Python. C Python, J Python, Iron Python, PyPy, Ruby Python, Anaconda Python. These are various other versions of Python available in the market, or you can download them from the net. The official Python that we are using, the Python software which we downloaded it from the Python official website, the various versions of this Python were version 1.0 introduced in Jan 1994, 2.0, 2.0 introduced in October 2000, 3.0 introduced in December 2008. Note, Python 3 won't provide backward compatibility to Python 2. That means if you write programs in Python 3 on one machine, you can't take it to some other machine which has Python 2 on it and use it. It would not work. And similarly, if you have programs written on some machine in Python 2 and you get those programs and try to execute it on machines with Python 3, they'll not work. So there is no guarantee that Python 2 programs will run on Python 3 machine, or Python 3 programs will work on Python 2. Next, as you know, in the IDLE, we get this symbol, the 3 greater than symbols, which is called the prompt. And you have to give, every time you give a command, you have to give it at the prompt. It also indicates that Python is ready for our next command. Some of the current versions of Python are the Python 3.6.1, 2.7.13, 3.7.0, and what we have downloaded for our course is the 3.8.3 Python version. Python IDLE stands for Integrated Development and Learning Environment. It allows us to work in 2 modes. This is what we had discussed in the first session. We are repeating it quickly. Interactive mode, where we will give one command at a time and obtain the result. script mode where we can type and execute our programs. So currently, as you know that we have been working still in the interactive mode. We have not yet started the script mode. In our very next session, we're going to show you how to make programs in Python, and we'll use a script mode. What is the use of the IDLE? It allows us to type our program, make changes in the program, save our program, check errors in the program, translate our program, and execute our program. All this can be done with the help of one software, and that is your integrated development and learning environment, and that's why it's called the IDLE. You know, you do everything at one place. You're not using different programs for, you know, like for example, typing your program, making changes in the program, and saving the program. You're not doing it in one software and then checking errors and translating your program in another software, and third, executing in some third software. You know, you might be doing this 3 steps. Okay, typing the program, making changes in the program, and saving the program. This in one program. You're not doing it that way. Checking errors and translating the program a second program, and executing your program in a third program. You might need to do that in Java, but not so in Python. You do everything at one place. Here is an introduction to data types. What we did in our first session, a quick revision. Types of values. Strings can contain any character or any number of characters. Example, we have written a string Dadar, comma, space Mumbai -400,028 dot in double quotes. So this is a string. And in purposely in the string, I've written some letters in capitals, some in small. I've given digits. I've used some special characters. It should be enclosed in double quotes or in single quotes. String is also called as character type data. Integer values are positive, negative values, or 0 without a decimal point. Floating point values can be positive, negative, or 0, but they should be with the decimal point. Here are some examples of floating point value. Boolean values are true or false. And there is one more type called the none, which means no value. Yes, there are some cases we at times do work with this also. Rarely, a bit rarely, but you are expected to have some knowledge about this also. Coming to identifiers, what we did in the beginning of our session, the notes on identifiers. It is a name in Python program. A name in a Python program is called as identifier. It can be a class name, function name, module name, variable name, etc., etc. And here's an example about a variable. We have created a and assigned the value 10 to it. Now these identifiers or variables, while giving names to them, we have to follow some rules. So this topic is important, please pay attention. The rules to define identifiers in Python are: the valid characters in Python are the valid, while giving names to identifiers, the letters that you are allowed to use are alphabets, capital A to Z, small a to Z. Yes, they can be in lowercase, that is small a to Z, or they can be in uppercase, capital A to Z. You can make use of digits within a identifier, within the name. You can use the underscore symbol also. Remember, within this name, a variable name or the identifier, the only special character allowed within the name is underscore. By mistake, if you use any other symbol, for example, dollar or yet any other symbol, what you would be making in your program is a syntax error. Such errors, like in a name, as you see over here, I've created a variable cash and I'm assigning the value 10 to it. This is valid. But if I write it as $CA$H, the dollar symbol given in the name is invalid. in the name of an identifier or a variable is invalid. So, and the error that we're going to get in such a situation is called a syntax error. That means, Python tells you that you're not supposed to use dollar or any other symbol other than underscore, but still, while naming your identifier, if you use one such symbol, then you are violating the rules that Python has told you, and in such a case, the error that you're committing is a syntax error. Identifier should not start with a digit. That means names of identifiers, you should not put digits at the beginning and then alphabets. That would be invalid. So the name 123 total is invalid. But if you name it as total 123, that's valid. Let's try these out. Some of these in the IDE. So while we go through the notes, as we go through the notes, I'll keep this file open. We'll also try out these on the machine. So first I'll show you something about capital letters. I'm giving the name to my variable. I'm defining have a look at this. I give a name age equal to 90. Now sometime back I had created a variable age in small letters and given 25 to it. And now I've created another variable age and given 90. Yes, let me tell you, the variable age in small letter is different, and the variable age which I've given capital letters different. They're not treated, both of them are not treated one and the same. Please see, when I write print age in small letter, the variable age which was created by us earlier with the value 25 to it, and now when I write age in capital letters, I get the value 90. They're two different variables. Yes, I'd like to relate to one of the points which we have included over here on this. Here you are. Identifiers are case sensitive. Case sensitive. That means if you define a variable total equal to, and you write 10, and you make another variable total and give the value 999, when you print total, the name in small letters, you get 10, and when you print total in capital letters, you get the value 999. As in this case, we did it with age. So the variable age in lowercase and the variable age in uppercase are two different variables. Let me demonstrate the second point to you. Say, for example, before that, before the point demonstrating point 2, I'll demonstrate this point 1, the dollar symbol. Say I'm creating a variable age and putting a dollar after that equal to 80. So within the name, I've included a dollar symbol, not just a dollar symbol, any other symbol. It could be a hash symbol or @ symbol. Age @ equal to 90. See, I'm getting an error. So as I told you, the only valid special character is underscore. How would you make use of underscore? Let me share that with you. When you have variables where the name is quite long, and the name is comprising of 2 or 3 words. For example, some variable like loan amount, loan. Now it would not be recommended you give a space between the variable names. Say loan amount equal to 10,000 I'm writing, so we get an error. Loan underscore amount equal to 10,000 is valid. So this is how you use underscore. Often when you have the variable name or the identifier name that you're giving, if it is comprising of many words, so in between the words you give a space, you can't give the space, so you give the underscore symbol. Let me tell you, if It would also be correct if you just name it as loan amount without any space or underscore in between. That also is valid. But as you see, when you compare the two statements, you would surely find loan underscore amount appearing better than this variable loan amount without any underscore in between. So no other special character other than underscore is allowed in a variable name, identifier name. Point number 2, if you're giving a naming a variable, see, I'm naming a variable marks 1, say marks in subject 1 of a student and giving the value 70. Now this variable name was valid, but if I would have named it as 1 marks, I'm getting an error. My variable name, identifier name, should not start with a digit. Yeah, it can be followed in between. There could be digits at the end. Could be digit, but not at the at the starting of the variable name or the identifier name. Coming to point number 4, we cannot use reserved words as identifiers. Let me share with you, in Python there are some words which have some special meaning. We'll be soon learning them. These words, they do some special task for us. They have some special meaning. They're called reserved words. And the criteria, the condition is, one of the rules that we have to follow is none of the reserved words of Python you should be using as names for variables or identifiers. So as you see over here, we have using a reserved word of Python by the name def for as a name of a variable, and we get an error there. This is just one reserved word that we have shared with you. We'll be sharing with you other reserved words, and we'll also be teaching you as the course progresses what their function is, what is their what task they are for. There is no limit to the length of your variable or identifier, but it is recommended that you don't use too lengthy names. Yes, take care of that. You should not be making your variable names or identifier names very, very lengthy, because in that case, it will be tedious for us. It will be more tiring for us to type such big names in our program. Here below, we have shared with you some names of identifiers, like this identifier 1, 2, 3 total, and it's invalid because it begins with digits, but total 1, 2, 3 is valid. Java2 share is a valid identifier. You can have digits in between or at the end. $H is an invalid identifier. _ABC is a valid identifier. Underscore can be there within the name. Def is invalid because it's a reserved word of Python. If is invalid because that too is a reserved word in Python. And now we're coming to reserved words. Just before we start with reserved words, a small topic that we're going to do by the end of the session. There's some more examples I want to share with you about identifiers. Well, this text file that I'm making, I'll be sharing it with you. We'll also be sharing this PDF file with you. Our, notes which are actual notes are these PDF files. It comprises of 5 pages, 1 to 5. I'll be sharing it with you. But besides this, there are some additional notes that I'm typing to explain the concept better to you. I'm sharing some examples over there. And even these examples which I've typed in the Python, ideally the commands we have typed with the output, these also I'll be putting it in a file, and these files I'll be sharing it with you all. Kindly revise them, kindly practice them also. I'm not only asking you to practice the same examples, but also try out some examples from your own side. to challenge yourself, to understand the topic better. In fact, what you can do is when I give an example like loan underscore amount equal to 10,000, you can give some other name to your variable and give some other value to your variable. So this is how you learn better. If you try out, similar to examples that I've given, if you try out similar examples on your, or examples which are similar to that, you try it on your own, that will be a better way of learning and understanding things. Identifiers, regarding identifiers, I want to share with you some more valid and invalid identifiers. Examples. We have seen that earlier, we have seen examples. Like if you want to store a student's marks in subject 1, so giving a name to the variable as subject 1 is valid. But if you give it as one subject, beginning the name with a digit is invalid. Or if you shorten it to sub 1 is valid. But if you write one sub, that would be invalid. Or you write it as sub underscore 1, that is valid. But one underscore sub would be invalid. Or one space sub would be invalid. Or let me make it as sub underscore 1. Subspace 1 without an underscore is invalid. So just a few more examples I wanted to share with you. Now, I'm writing a particular statement, and there's something I want to discuss with you about the statement. I'm writing a statement address equal to, where address is my variable. Okay, just as we made the variable age, we are making the variable address. Then we have written the equal to symbol, and the value that I want to give to address is, I'm typing it in double quotes. So I'm giving a string value to my variable address, Dadar, comma, Mumbai, hyphen 400028 dot. Now, sometime back, we shared with you some rules for identifiers, which mentioned that you can't use any special character other than underscore. But here, I've used comma, I've used space, I've used hyphen, I've used a dot. Can you clarify to me? Can you relate to me? Can you tell me why? How come have I used these special characters when the rule said that we are only special character we are supposed to use is underscore? Think about it. Why have I given these special characters? Or if I've given these special characters, is it correct? Will it work? Will it give me an error? Now let me share the answer to this with you. The rule that we have learned, that you are not supposed to use any other special character other than underscore, applies to identifiers, applies to variables, like our variable address over here, our identifier address over here, it applies to that. That is, this name that we have given, address, this variable name that we have given should not contain any other special character other than underscore. This rule of underscore does not apply to my string. Last session, in our first session of Python, we have learned about strings, and we have learned that a string can contain any character and any number of characters. The condition is, while defining the string, you have to enclose it in double quotes. That means you have to start it and end it with double quotes or single quotes. So I'm clarifying that rule of underscore applies to this variable or identifier, and it doesn't apply to this value or string. I hope I've clarified myself. The doubt is clear now. Another thing I just want to casually share with you is the underscore symbol. Okay, in this example, sub1 that I've written, please see, if I write it like this, sub, now this symbol that we see, okay, is not underscore, it is hyphen, dash, the symbol that we use for minus sign. Okay, this symbol is called hyphen or the minus sign or the dash, whereas underscore symbol is this. Actually, these symbols, both these symbols are on the same key. I repeat, they are both on the same key. When you press that key alone, you get hyphen, and when you press that key along with the shift key, you get the underscore symbol. So please take care of this symbol. You're not supposed to use hyphen. Okay, I put it in the invalid side. You're supposed to use underscore. So in my ideally now, another example that I'm typing is the one relating to that variable example address equal to, in double quotes, I'm typing the other, comma, Mumbai hyphen 400028 full stop. And as you see, we don't get an error. And I remind you over here that rule that you should not use any special character other than underscore applies to this variable name or identifier, doesn't apply to the string. So if I give print address, I get to see that string as it is. Only thing in the output, while being print command is showing it to you, it doesn't show you the double quotes. But whatever is within the double quotes is being displayed as it is. Let me also use the type function and show you what type of variable is address. Yes, today sometime back we have created integer variables, and now what we have made this variable address is of string type. Please see, str type. And notice while giving the type function, and as I want to know the type of this variable address, I have not written the name of this variable address in double quotes. Okay, take care of that. Some more examples now. We have worked with integer, we created integer type variable age today. Even our variable loan amount equal to 5,000 that we have given is an integer variable because the value 5,000 doesn't have a decimal point. The variable address we have created is a string type of variable. I'm creating another variable salary and giving the value 10,000.50 to it. Now this value 10,000.50 is a floating point value or a decimal value, and so this variable becomes decimal or floating point variable. Giving the print function to see the value of salary, and then the type function to understand what type of variable is salary. I get the answer float. Next, a variable married. We are making a variable married to store the marital status of person, and we are assigning a Boolean value true to it. Let us print the variable married and let us see the type of this variable. So what we have done today is we have made variables of different types: integer, float, string, and Boolean, all the 4 types. Coming back to reserved words, to our notes, our formal notes. Reserved words. In Python, some words are reserved to represent some meaning or functionality. Yes, there are certain words that have some special meaning or some special tasks that they perform for us. Such words are called reserved words. There are 33 reserved words available in Python. True, false, none, and, or, not, is. We have listed over here all these 33 reserved words. Now let me tell you, this is just for reference. This is not the intention of these showing you these reserved words. Is not that we're going to start learning all of them one after the other now. Okay, as the course progresses, we'll come across reserved words and we'll be teaching them to you in a systematic manner. If I share with you the reserved words that we have used till now are true, false, and none. And please take care, these reserved words, the first letter, these three reserved words have the first letter in capital, the remaining letters are small. Whereas all the other reserved words, if you see, all the letters are in small, except for these three, true, false, and none. So let me demonstrate this to you ideally. I write married equal to false with F in small letters, I get an error. That is, you have to write F in capital. Not only for false, even for true or none, you have to take care of this. In this case, I did not get an error now. We'll be learning these reserved words in a systematic manner as the course progresses. All reserved words in Python contain only alphabets. Okay, reserved words do not have digits in them. They're alphabetic, they're words. Except for the following three reserved words, all the other contain lowercase characters. The three are true, false, none. So as you see, we are defining a variable A and giving true to it, mention invalid. But when you write A equal to with T capital, true with T capital, that's valid. You've seen that now in the case of false. Okay, and I remind you one more point which we read in the earlier page. Going to that earlier page and sharing that point, important point is we cannot use reserved words as identifiers. Okay, none of the 33 reserved words, you should use them as identifiers. That means if you're making any variable by this name, you'll get an error from Python. You're not supposed to do that. Now please see, again we have this heading data types in our notes for you. We had it earlier sometime, somewhere behind. I'll just share the heading with you. Please note the difference in the heading. Earlier when we did data types, that is in our first session, okay, we did data types, but we were referring to the types of values. And today we have done data types. And here the data types that we are referring to, the topic is the same, but we have discussed different types of variables. So when we made a variable age equal to 25 and wrote equal to 25, it was an integer variable. In our example, salary equal to 10,000.50, our variable was float type. In example, married equal to true variable was Boolean type. An example on address was string type variable. I repeat, in the first session, we did types of values, and today what we have done are demonstrated are types of variables. Data type represents the type of data present inside a variable. In Python, we are not required to specify the type explicitly. That means when you make a variable, you don't have to specify before the name of the variable int or float while defining the variable. You don't have to do that in Python. You have to do that in C, C++, Java. Based on the value provided, type will be assigned automatically to your variable. Hence, Python is called dynamically typed language. Yes, from the value itself, Python will understand the type of the variable. You don't have to specify the type explicitly, like you have to do it in, explicitly means manually, like you have to do it in other languages. You don't have to do that in Python. Mention the type. And this feature of Python is called as dynamically typed language. Some data types in Python are integer, float, bool, str, and none. This diagram which is appearing over here, I'll be discussing this in our next session. Speaking about sharing the explanation on that to you in the next session. There's some important points which you have to remember. This particular point, Python contains several inbuilt functions. I remind you, somewhere in the beginning of the session today, we discussed print function, type function, okay? And I remind you, we had shared with you that after the name of the function, you'll always see a pair of round brackets. That's how you recognize that it is a function. And if you refer to reserved words, yes, how do you distinguish between reserved words and function? Please see, none of your reserved words have a pair of round brackets after it. So, special names of Python with no round brackets after them, those are reserved words. And names of Python which have round brackets after them are function names. And then, I'll also clarify names like married, okay, age, salary, address. What are these? These are identifiers, these are variables, and they are made by myself, the programmer. I repeat, age, address, salary, married are variables or identifiers. They are made by the programmer and names to them are given by the programmer. The reserved words are given by Python language. Functions are given to us by Python language. Even operators, I introduced you to the equal to operator. Today we have learned the equal to operator. These operators are given to us by the language, Python language. So I'm trying to, help you to distinguish what things that we have learned till now are given to us by Python language, that is reserved words, function names, operators, and what have been made by the programmer are variables or identifiers. Python contains several inbuilt functions. Inbuilt functions means ready-made functions, the programs of which are written by the Python company programmers, and those ready-made programs are given to us for use. Functions like type is a built-in function. I'll soon be teaching you the ID function, the print function we have already learned. These are functions. They are built in, given to us by Python. In Python, everything is an object. Now, this point is a very important point as such, but it relates to something that we are going to learn quite later. We somehow cover classes and objects in a second module. That is the first module, 3 months, the second module, the beginning of the second module, that is after the 3 months for first module. That's where we learned about classes and objects. Then that is a stage where you will understand this particular phrase properly. But as a formality, we are sharing this point with you. If those of you who are absolute beginners, having no knowledge of any other programming language, you need not bother yourself with this point. It will not hamper you in any way. But those others who have some knowledge about C++ and Java would probably understand this statement. And for them, I have shared this statement. Type function, it tells me the type of the variable. Print function, it prints the value of the variable. ID function. Let me share this function with you now, the ID function. ID, and I'm writing age. Please see this huge number that I'm getting. What is it exactly? Okay, I'll share this with you through my diagram that I made in the beginning. Please see, when you make a variable, what you are doing is basically You are reserving a cell in the memory, giving a name, keeping a value in it, giving a name to that cell. But actually from the computer remembers that cell, knows that cell by its address. Actually that cell has an address, a huge number, which is called the cell address. And this is what the ID function is telling us, is giving us. The cell address, the number that the cell has, not the value. Now what we have done is, since these cell addresses are very lengthy and very difficult to remember, very tedious to remember, when we keep a value in a cell, we give the name to that cell. We tell Python to give a name, like we're giving the name age in the statement age equal to 25. These names are called as variables or identifiers. So in that sense, we are telling Python that I'm not interested in using your cell addresses. I would prefer using variable names or identifiers. So here we have seen the ID. I use the ID function to get the address of age. ID, and I write married. I get the address of variable married. ID, and we write salary. And each of this variable has a different cell address. There are different cells occupying different cells in the memory. ID, I write address. I get to see the cell address of variable ID. Address, sorry, the ID of cell address of my variable address. Don't get confused. This is the cell address and this is the variable address containing Dadar, Mumbai. So this is the ID function. It gives me the cell address that the variable is occupying in the memory. We have finished our discussion. Okay, just a little bit of this int data type. Okay, we did today. We made variables of integer data type. We can use int data type to represent whole numbers or integer values. Example, that is 0, positive or negative values without decimal point. Example, a equal to 10. We made a variable a, assigned 10 to it, and we've seen the type of that variable. Okay, so the type that will be displayed will be int. We made float type of variables. Example, f equal to 1.234. We made something similar, that's the salary. When we ask the Python to tell us the type of this variable f, it tells me float. And here we have come to the end of our session. Kindly revise your concepts. We'll be meeting now on Saturday, that is 6th of June at 9:30 in the morning to conduct our third session of Python. We'll be uploading this video on YouTube. We request all of you to share it with your friends, your relatives. Subscribe to our channel A+ Computer Education on YouTube. Ask your friends to see the video, benefit out of it, the free knowledge that we are giving on Python, because we are very impressed with this language and the potential of this language. We want more and more people to learn Python, and this age of, in this age, the digital age, and where we are having this coronavirus fear, the COVID fear, as you know very well, more and more companies are going digital. We're preferring people to work from home, learn from home. And for this reason, technology and languages like Python will play an important role in our life. And we are doing our bit of sharing this knowledge, trying to share this knowledge with as many people as possible. So request you to see our video for revision purpose. Please don't forget to like. Click on the like button. If you have some comments, you can share your comments also, and share our videos with your friends and relatives. We stop over here. See you in our next session. Goodbye.